Harry Belafonte was a legendary singer, actor, and a brave activist who always spoke the truth. He became famous for his music and movies, but behind his success, there were deep struggles. In Hollywood, he met many people who did not support him or his beliefs. Some actors even disliked him because of his strong views on racism and justice. Belafonte also had a list of stars he did not like at all. Their actions, words, or silence during tough times made him angry. Today, we will uncover the names of those 6 actors and the reasons behind his hate. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Harry Belafonte was not just a famous singer and actor. He was a fighter who stood up against racism, poverty, and injustice. But his life was full of struggles and pain. He was born in 1927 in New York City, but he spent part of his childhood in Jamaica. He grew up poor and faced many hardships. Even after becoming a star, things were not easy for him because of the color of his skin. In Hollywood, many actors and producers did not want to work with a black man in leading roles. Some even told him directly that he did not belong in movies. Belafonte worked hard and proved them wrong, but deep inside, he always knew that he was not fully accepted. His success in music with songs like the Banana Boat song made him famous, but it also made some people jealous. Belafonte became very active in the civil rights movement. He supported Martin Luther King Jr. and helped raise money for the cause. But this made him a target. Some actors and powerful people in Hollywood thought he was creating problems. They stayed silent or turned against him. He was often blacklisted, which means he was not offered roles in movies because of his beliefs. He also felt betrayed by some of his fellow stars who claimed to support equality but never stood up in public. These disappointments hurt him deeply. He expected loyalty from his friends in the industry, but many chose to protect their careers instead of doing the right thing. All these life problems shaped Belafonte into a strong and bold man, but they also made him dislike some of his fellow actors. This dislike was not personal, it was based on truth and values. Now we talk about 6 actors he disliked the most. Number 1. John Wayne. The first actor Harry Belafonte hated the most was John Wayne. John Wayne was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, known for his cowboy roles and strong personality. But behind the camera, Wayne held strong political and social beliefs that clashed deeply with Belafonte's values. John Wayne was known for his support of conservative politics and for making many public statements that were considered racist and offensive. He believed in the old ways of America, where people of color had limited rights. In a famous interview, Wayne even said he believed white people were superior in some ways. These words hurt many people, including Belafonte. Harry Belafonte believed in equality, justice, and civil rights for everyone. He worked closely with Martin Luther King Jr. and used his fame to speak against racism. So when he heard Wayne's comments, he felt anger and disappointment. For Belafonte, John Wayne was a symbol of everything that was wrong with old Hollywood. He represented a time when black voices were pushed aside and their talents were ignored. Even though John Wayne never attacked Belafonte personally, his words and beliefs made it clear that he did not support the kind of world Belafonte was fighting for. Belafonte never hid his dislike for Wayne and spoke openly about it in later interviews. He believed that silence in the face of injustice was just as bad as hatred. That is why John Wayne became one of the top names on Harry Belafonte's hate list. Number 2. Frank Sinatra. The second actor Harry Belafonte hated the most was Frank Sinatra. At one point, the two were friendly and even worked together. Sinatra was a music legend, known for his smooth voice and style. But over time, Belafonte began to see a different side of him, one that made him feel deeply disappointed. Frank Sinatra had a powerful position in Hollywood and the music industry. He had strong connections with politicians and entertainers, and he used that influence to help many people. But when it came to civil rights, Belafonte believed that Sinatra did not do enough. During the 1960s, while Belafonte was marching, raising money, and speaking out against racism, Sinatra mostly stayed silent. He chose not to take public stands on important issues, even though his voice could have made a big difference. Belafonte felt that people like Sinatra had a moral duty to speak up, especially when Black Americans were fighting for their basic rights. He believed that silence in such moments was a form of betrayal. Although Sinatra did support some civil rights causes privately, Belafonte wanted bold public action, not quiet sympathy. There were also rumors that Sinatra did not like Belafonte's activism and thought he was too outspoken. This created a distance between them. Belafonte lost respect for him and began to see him as someone who cared more about his image than justice. For these reasons, Frank Sinatra became another name on Belafonte's list of most disliked actors. Number 3. Tony Curtis. The third actor Harry Belafonte hated the most was Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was a popular Hollywood actor known for his good looks and leading roles in many successful films. But behind the charm and fame, there were moments and comments that deeply upset Harry Belafonte. Tony Curtis and Harry Belafonte crossed paths during a time when Hollywood was still very dead by race. Although Curtis was not openly racist, he sometimes made remarks that showed he did not fully understand or respect the struggle of black artists. Belafonte once heard that Curtis had joked about his popularity with white audiences, suggesting that it was only because of his exotic look or musical background, not his true talent. Belafonte found these comments insulting and hurtful. Belafonte worked hard to earn respect in an industry that rarely gave black performers a fair chance. So when someone like Tony Curtis, who enjoyed all the privileges of being a white actor in Hollywood, made light of Belafonte's achievements, it felt like a slap in the face. There were also reports that Curtis was uncomfortable with Belafonte's political activism. He believed entertainers should not get involved in politics, especially when it came to civil rights. This belief was the opposite of everything Belafonte stood for. Because of these reasons, both personal and professional, Harry Belafonte grew to dislike Tony Curtis. He saw him as another actor who refused to understand the real challenges faced by black performers in Hollywood. Number 4. Charlton Heston. The fourth actor Harry Belafonte hated the most was Charlton Heston. Heston was a famous Hollywood star known for his powerful roles in films like Ben-Hur and The Ten Commandments. He was also known for being active in political matters. At one time, he even supported civil rights and marched alongside Martin Luther King Jr. This gave Belafonte hope that Heston was an ally. But that hope did not last. As the years passed, Charlton Heston's views began to change. He moved away from supporting civil rights and became the president of the National Rifle Association. He started speaking out in support of gun rights and conservative values, which many believed went against the spirit of the civil rights movement. Belafonte felt shocked and betrayed. To Belafonte, Heston's change in beliefs was not just disappointing, it was dangerous. He believed that Heston had turned his back on justice and used his fame to support causes that hurt communities of color. In interviews, Belafonte openly criticized Heston and said he was an example of someone who abandoned the fight for equality when it no longer benefited him. Belafonte also believed that Heston's actions gave support to groups and people who wanted to silence voices like his. This created a deep divide between the two actors. What made it worse was that Heston once stood for the same cause Belafonte gave his life to. That kind of change, in Belafonte's eyes, was not forgivable, and so Heston earned a place on his hate list. Number 5. Jerry Lewis, the fifth actor. Harry Belafonte hated the most was Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was a famous comedian and actor, known for his funny faces, silly voices, and wild performances. Many people loved his humor, but Belafonte saw something in Lewis that he could not ignore. Belafonte believed that Jerry Lewis often used racist jokes and harmful stereotypes in his comedy. He felt that Lewis sometimes made fun of black people and other minorities in ways that were not funny, but insulting. During a time when people were fighting for dignity and respect, Belafonte thought that Lewis' jokes were part of the problem. Jerry Lewis was also seen by Belafonte as someone who did not care about the struggles of others. He rarely spoke about civil rights or equality, and when asked about such issues, he gave answers that showed he did not fully understand or support the movement. This silence, to Belafonte, was just as bad as open hate. There were also moments when Lewis made jokes that mocked serious issues, including poverty and racism. Belafonte, who spent his life fighting these problems, saw this kind of humor as cruel and irresponsible. He believed entertainers had a duty to uplift people, not tear them down. For Belafonte, Jerry Lewis represented the kind of Hollywood star who only cared about laughs and fame, not justice or truth. This made Belafonte lose all respect for him. Because of these reasons, Jerry Lewis became another name on his personal hate list. Number 6. Marlon Brando. The sixth actor Harry Belafonte hated the most was Marlon Brando. This may come as a surprise because at one time the two were very close friends and strong allies in the fight for civil rights. Brando was known for his powerful acting in films like The Godfather and A Streetcar Named Desire, but he was also known for speaking out on social issues. For a while, Belafonte admired him deeply. In the early years, Belafonte and Brando stood together. They both marched with Martin Luther King Jr., raised money for civil rights groups, and used their fame to speak out against injustice. But over time, something changed. Brando began to pull away from the movement. He became more private and, according to Belafonte, started ignoring the real struggles that were still going on. Belafonte felt that Brando became disconnected from the cause. He thought Brando started to care more about his personal peace than fighting for justice. When Belafonte asked for his support on certain events and projects, Brando either refused or gave excuses. This hurt Belafonte deeply. Even worse, Belafonte believed Brando's silence during some critical civil rights moments felt like a betrayal. He had once seen Brando as a brother in the struggle, but now he saw him as someone who gave up when things became difficult. For Belafonte, that kind of withdrawal was unacceptable. It is why even someone as close as Marlon Brando ended up on his list of actors he hated the most. Harry Belafonte was not just a performer, he was a man of deep values, courage, and purpose. He judged people not by their fame, but by their actions and silence during times of injustice. The 6 actors he hated were not just names. They symbolized betrayal, hypocrisy, or failure to stand up when it mattered most.